Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make a PepperMill with a piece of Pacific Yew, which is a marvelous wood to turn. It's got a very close, tight grain, and it behaves very nicely on the lathe. It drills nicely for boring the holes, and it's just a real nice wood to work with. It comes out with a beautiful orangish red finish, as you'll see when we get towards the end of the video. I'm going to use the crush grind mechanism, which is, I think, a far superior mechanism to the standard metal mechanisms that you find. This one has a ceramic grinding mechanism in the bottom, which is adjustable for the coarseness or refineness of the grind you want to get. This one has the long shaft that goes together more of a conventional construction. It also comes with just the bottom part that has a mechanism or a little mounting mechanism on the end, and that allows you some more design opportunities, because now instead of having your turning mechanism way up at the top, you can have virtually your whole body of the PepperMill be your turning mechanism, and there's a lot of different design opportunities that it opens up for you. But this one is more conventional and is the one we'll be using for this demonstration. Before I get started, the one thing I want to show you is I lay this out in a drawing on my computer. I have an inexpensive CAD program called DeltaCAD. One of the reasons I do this is so that I can get all my dimensions laid out, and I don't have to sit and think of what I'm doing. I can just look at the drawing. On this side, I have the drilling dimensions for the holes that we'll be putting into the interior of the PepperMill. It starts out with a 1 3/4 inch diameter hole drilled 3/4 inch deep, followed by a 1 9/16 drilled an 1.5 inches, and then a 1 1/16 up through the rest of the body. And then in the cap, we need a 15/16 inch hole drilled 1 1/4 inch deep. And these are my dimensions for the body and for the cap. I made this drawing based on this particular block that we'll be using today, which is 8 inches tall. So I'll have a body of 6 1/4 and a top of 1 3/4, minus of course the bandsaw blade width. And then I took and I just put a basic shape on it, and I could get my dimensions for the curves and the height of my coves and everything. I usually don't follow this exactly. It just gives me a starting point, so I have the basic shape, and usually as I'm turning I do a little bit of altering and changing around. On this particular one, I'm going to also put a little button at the top, and I cut those with a plug cutter out of various kinds of wood, and we can get into that when we get to the part where we'll be making the cap. So the first thing we'll need to do is cut off the top part that will be used for the top of the mill. Now, you don't necessarily have to make that out of the exact same wood. You could make that out of a contrasting wood if you want, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to make it out of the same piece. That way the top will match, the grain will match up and everything. So according to my drawing, I need to cut that at 1 3/4 of an inch. I will measure that out with my scale here, 1 3/4, and then I'll draw a line there so I know where to cut. Now, just so I be sure to get these mounted on the lathe properly, I'm going to take a white pen and just draw a line across where that cut's going to be on all 4 sides. That way I know that this surface and that surface are the ones that match up, so that when I do my turning on the lathe and drilling, I'll be able to keep that relationship for the final product. So the next thing to do is to take it over to the bandsaw and make that cut. cut piece. I have my marks so I can get them back together properly. And we're going to start with the bottom part. So I'll put the top part off to the side for now. And we'll be boring the holes for this on the lathe. And to do that, we're going to mount the blank into a 4-jaw truck. I like to do it on the table because I can get a little bit better alignment. I don't have to worry about getting it in there straight because gravity helps me out. I'll get it in there as square as I can. Push down and tighten up the truck. I'm ready to take that over to the lathe and mount it and get ready to bore.